Sister Wives David Woolley reveals which Brown kid he's closest to. Sister Wives star David Woolley sat down and talked about life after marrying Cristin Brown Woolley. Unmistakably, he knew he was getting into a complex situation with her involvement with reality TV and her ties to her plural family. Now he reveals which of the Brown kids he is closest to at this point. David Woolley joined the Brown Club. When Sister Wives star David Woolley married Cristin Woolley Brown, he gained many new kids and grandkids with the deal. Since Cristin and Cody Brown share 6 children, Aspen, 29, Mykelti, 28, Peyton, 25, Gwendolyn, 22, Isabel, 21, and Truly, 14, David had to go through the ringer to get their approval before marrying Cristin. Lucky for him, he seemed to fit right in. However, they all agree, even if they didn't approve, Cristin would have gone on with her plans. One of the biggest complaints was how fast they were moving. In addition to Cristin's kids, she is connected to her other kids from the plural marriage as well. While there has been some falling out between Cristin with Cody, Robin, and Mary, Cristin still remains close to Janelle and her kids. David admits he doesn't know Robin or Mary well. However, he thinks he could eventually have good conversations with Cody. But now, David has revealed which of the Brown kids he is closest to. David Woolley reveals which Brown kid he is closest to. While David Woolley cares about all of his kids and Cristin Brown Woolley's kids, he admitted there is one Brown kid he is closest to. He told Entertainment Tonight, "The closest with is Truly, of course, 'cause we live together." Undoubtedly, he is embracing the stepdad role with Truly very well. He adds, "So her and I bond really well, over everything. When she's upset with Cristin, I can just break the ice by just teasing her." Cristin Brown chimes in, he doesn't allow her to be a moody teenager. He just talks to her, starts addressing her. He doesn't walk on eggshells around her. He's like, "You're moody like your cat, Truly." Then, David adds, "She can just be herself with me." Furthermore, he wants her to be comfortable. He says, "And I don't judge her on it. Just be yourself and we have a great time." He wants to protect Cristin Brown and her family. David Woolley is committed to protecting Cristin and her kids. He understands she has gone through a lot with leaving Cody Brown. Additionally, he sees that Cody has many emotions he is working through too. Furthermore, he mentions if he can strengthen a relationship with any of the kids, it would be Gwendolyn Brown and Beatriz Quiros, who he doesn't see very often. However, he loves them and hopes the more time they spend together, the closer they will get. Adding, "Love them. They're awesome." Additionally, he says that he and Mykelti Brown Padron take turns trying to see who will pester each other the most. Cristin Brown, David Woolley, Mykelti Brown, Tony Padron, Aspen Brown, Mitch Thompson, and kids. Sister Wives, Instagram. After celebrating a full year of marriage, Cristin Brown and David Woolley are excited to be on their honeymoon after delaying it for a year. While they are still head over heels for each other, they are continuing to get to know each other's families. Admittedly, he misses her when she is gone and loves how she takes care of him when she is home. Both David and Cristin are thankful they have trust and honesty in their relationship. The air at Robin's house had been unusually tense for the past week. As a tight-knit family with their own complex dynamics, the Browns often found themselves navigating a fine balance between family loyalty, personal boundaries, and, of course, the ever-present cameras. But there was something different this time. Robin's newest partner, David Woolley, had been growing increasingly close with some of the Brown children. It was clear that the transition from being an outsider to becoming a part of the family had taken some time. But recently, he begun to forge deeper bonds with the younger members of the tribe. It was during a rare, quiet dinner that David made a revelation. The family had gathered around the dining table, the clinking of silverware against plates and the soft hum of conversation filling the space. Amidst the laughter and chatter, David cleared his throat. All eyes turned to him, including Cody's, who had become somewhat guarded when it came to his children's relationships with other men, especially after all the changes in the family's dynamics. David seemed unfazed by the attention. "I think it's time I finally say this," David began, his voice steady but tinged with an undercurrent of sincerity. Robin smiled softly, proud of him for being open. Cody's expression remained unreadable, but he shifted slightly in his chair, bracing himself for whatever was about to come next. David looked around the table, his eyes lingering on each child for a moment before focusing on one person in particular, Gwendolyn Brown. She sat toward the end of the table, quietly picking at her salad, a hint of shyness still lingering from the occasional awkward interactions with David. "I'm closest to Gwendolyn," David admitted, his words hanging in the air like a confession. The room seemed to pause, and a few of the other kids exchanged glances. Gwendolyn, who had often kept a little distance from her mother's new boyfriend, looked up, her cheeks turning slightly pink. She wasn't the type to openly express her emotions, especially when they didn't fit into the box of what people expected from her. But there was no mistaking the warmth that spread across her face. Gwendolyn started, unsure of how to respond, but then her eyes softened as she saw David's earnest expression. "I didn't know you felt that way," she finally said, her voice quieter than usual. David's gaze remained on her. "I know I'm not your father, Gwendolyn, but I've always felt like we've had this quiet understanding. You're an incredibly smart and kind person. We just click." Gwendolyn's younger sister, Sybil, who was sitting beside her, leaned in toward her. "Wait, so you like David better than all of us?" she teased, trying to lighten the mood. The entire table erupted in chuckles, including Gwendolyn, who rolled her eyes at her sister's playful jab. But there was an unmistakable sense of curiosity that hung in the air. Everyone wanted to know more. David, sensing the shift in the atmosphere, continued, "I don't want to downplay my relationships with the other kids because I've tried to build bonds with each of you. But with Gwendolyn, there's this connection that I can't quite put into words. She's thoughtful, and we've had some really deep conversations that have just felt right. I know she's still processing a lot of the family's history and everything that's happened. And I respect that." Cody, who had been silent through most of the conversation, finally spoke up. "It's good to hear that you're close with one of the kids," he said, his tone clipped. He wasn't exactly thrilled about the attention David had been getting from the kids, especially since Gwendolyn had always been a little more reserved with her feelings. But he also knew that David was a steady presence in Robin's life, and his relationship with the children was an inevitable part of the equation. Robin, sensing the subtle tension between her husband and David, added quickly, "I'm glad David is able to connect with Gwendolyn. She's such a sensitive soul, and sometimes it's hard for her to let people in. But when she does, it's really special." David nodded, grateful for Robin's support. He knew he hadn't won over everyone yet, especially not Cody, but he had always been more of a quiet observer. Building genuine relationships took time, and he wasn't in a rush to force things. "Well," Gwendolyn spoke up again, her voice more confident now, "I think I've been needing someone who understands me in that way. I'm not as open as some of my siblings, and I know it takes a while for me to warm up to people. But I'm glad you're around, David." The room fell into a comfortable silence, the weight of the conversation dissipating as everyone absorbed what had just transpired. Cody shifted in his seat and then looked directly at David. There was no mistaking the challenge in his eyes. "You're not my kid's father," Cody stated, his voice firm but not unkind. "And I don't expect you to be. But if you're going to be around, you better understand that you're not the only one with influence in this family." His words were pointed, but there was no outright animosity. Cody's need for control over the family was something that couldn't be ignored, and this revelation had only stirred the pot further. David met Cody's gaze without hesitation, his expression calm but resolute. "I'm not trying to replace anyone, Cody. I'm not here to be the new father figure. I'm just here to be a part of this family and show up for the people who need me." Cody nodded slowly, seemingly satisfied with David's answer, though the tension between the two men remained palpable. He wasn't about to accept David as easily as Robin had, but he knew better than to push too hard. For now, at least, they had reached an unspoken understanding. The conversation shifted, and soon the dinner table was alive again with jokes and chatter. But beneath the surface, everyone was thinking about David's revelation. Who else was David forming relationships with? Would there be more surprises in the future? Gwendolyn, who had always kept her emotions guarded, seemed to have found a space where she could breathe a little easier. She didn't have to say anything more, the weight of her quiet acknowledgement was enough. And for David, that was all he needed to know.